We now know Jalen Hurts became a Super Bowl champion and a franchise quarterback. But in 2020, he was just another prospect sitting in a combine interview room. The real question is this: could you have seen it before the wins? The NFL combine interview is not a casual conversation. Teams are testing leadership signaling, ego calibration, football intelligence, and emotional control. What looks like small talk is actually evaluation under pressure. Early in this interview, the Eagles asked the most direct question possible: why should we draft you? This is where prospects either oversell, deflect, or reveal how they see themselves.
Well, why should we draft you?
Coach, I'm a difference maker. I'm a dog. I've been able to kind of cement myself in two prestigious programs. I think I've been able to I think people have found a way in both places to follow me. And I'm not going in this deal, going in these places saying, hey, come on, y'all gotta follow me, or, that's earned, that's not given. And people leave because their peers let them. I don't know, for some odd reason, people follow me everywhere I've been. I can make every throw, make every play. I don't put a ceiling on how good I can be. I think that I can't say the sky's the limit, because I think I have that much, and I'm confident in that. I'm a student. I want to learn. I just want to maximize all of this I have so I can be the best I can be, and be an asset to some people, an organization, and impact the people around me, bring some people with me.
Notice what Jaylen does not say. He doesn't demand leadership, and he doesn't crown himself. He says leadership is earned, and he frames himself as an asset to an organization, not the center of it. He also says something subtle but powerful: I don't put a ceiling on how good I can be. That is confidence without entitlement, ambition without ego inflation. Then the conversation shifts to his journey from Alabama to Oklahoma. This is where adversity can expose insecurity. Instead, it exposes process alignment.
So you got an interesting path. You traveled, going to Alabama, winning, and then graduating and going to Oklahoma. Tell us about that journey, decisions you made, and how you ended up at Oklahoma.
Yes, sir. For me, I decided to go to Alabama because I felt like me and Coach Saban were compatible. Saw things the same way. I was very interested and bought into the process he always talked about, and the approach he took, the business approach, the competitive nature he had. So I was all in on Alabama. I only took one visit. That was Alabama. I go in there my freshman year, and I earned so much respect from my peers because I early enrolled and I was 17. Just being around those guys, Ruben and Eddie Jackson and Jonathan Allen, all those guys, I guess I earned some keep from them, if you will. We played my freshman year, went to the national championship. We ended up coming up short. We get back. The stuff doesn't go as planned, obviously, but for me, we're back. The biggest thing for me was getting back and winning. So we got back and we won. And now, okay, what's Jaylen gonna do? Everybody wondering what I have in store for my future and all that. I ain't saying nothing. I'm blocking out the noise like I've always done. Keeping the main thing, head down and working.
He frames his time at Alabama not around hype, but around compatibility with Saban's process. He talks about business approach, competition, and blocking out noise. That language is deliberate and consistent. When Jaylen discusses transferring to Oklahoma, he removes ego from the equation. He says he went to win a national championship, not personal awards. That reframing matters in a locker room.
Off to Oklahoma, I went there not to win any personal award, achievements, or nothing like that, but I wanted to win Coach Riley a national championship. Being a guy that's been there, been in that game 3 years in a row. I didn't care what the school was. I wanted to win the national championship, and we came up short. So I think I'm hungry.
He positions himself as hungry, not wronged. That's emotional regulation under scrutiny. Teams are listening for resentment, and they did not hear it. Then comes the whiteboard segment. This is where intelligence stops being abstract and becomes measurable.
We're going to get into a little bit of your tape here. So this first one's gonna end up great though. We want you to give us as much as you can here with your recall, play call, situation, why y'all called it, all of it right here. So you're starting an empty set, short motion in the back here. This is third and long.
Right. So we call this spread. So we go spread, we go to double seam. So I tell my O-line double seam. They know that that's a 5-man protection. In this system, I had no protection responsibilities. I wouldn't coach to worry about those things. I know I have a throw behind, so I got a vertical route by 11, and versus one-on-one matchup, if I like that, prefer versus press, I'm gonna take that. 14 is gonna take the roof off for a love of the game route, and we all know those. You know, receivers hate them, but it comes with the territory. CD is gonna run a 15-yard dig. He ends up throttling down right here, so he ends up curling up. You know, we make it work. And I got chips by my tight ends, and he's getting to the flats after he chips. I end up going 5-step drop right here, but I was coached to do 3, and in this system it was different from the footwork and how we handled it. And just being able to adjust to those things. Some of them was different, but a lot of it was effective. And even talking about the protection part of it, like for instance at Alabama, you know, I had hots. Now, we had certain protections where, put it this way, we prepare and we manipulate it with moving the back. So we will always find a way to pick it up.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So we rarely were hot. And if we were hot, we had it built in with some drive routes or quick outs or whatever it had. At Oklahoma, it was a little more open. So there were times where I had to look at the rush to see if I was hot, based off of the way I was coached. You know, we really didn't key safeties in that system. We really didn't worry about those things. But I know there's some clips where it's like any pressure, throw this quick game or whatever it is. But
Sure.
Forward to seeing you this week, man. Let's have a great week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Listen to Jalen's terminology fluency, protection responsibilities, route adjustments, system differences between Alabama and Oklahoma. He's not guessing. He's processing in real time. He also acknowledges differences between systems without blaming coaching. That shows adaptability and coachability, 2 traits teams obsess over in quarterback evaluation. Years later, fans look back at this interview and say the signs were there. The leadership, the intelligence, the humility, the hunger. In hindsight, it feels obvious. But here's the real takeaway. The NFL Combine interview is not about charisma. It's about how a player frames identity, handles adversity, and processes information under evaluation. If you want to understand what teams are looking for this week, listen for earned leadership language, process alignment, and cognitive fluency. And that right there is exactly what the Philadelphia Eagles heard. Before the Super Bowl ring, before the MVP chants, before the validation, there was just a room and a conversation. And in that room, the blueprint was already visible. Franchise quarterbacks are not created the day they lift a trophy. They reveal themselves long before that. Sometimes all you have to do is listen. This is Press Room Breakdown, where we slow the room down and study how the message gets made.